So hey there everybody, today we are basically just testing out this GoPro for vlogging. I'm walking through snow, so it might be a little bit more bumpy than I would normally want. So I decided on the GoPro Hero Black 7. I've had a sort of a love-hate relationship with GoPros. They're really nice action cameras, but they've, up till about now, not been very good for other things. The ability to add an external mic has been around for a couple generations, but it's now the Pro Smooth motion, or that it actually makes sense to have this camera for, you know, nice, smooth video from a little camera that, you know, you're holding at the end of a stick, or it's on your helmet, or whatnot. I'll put a clip from a recent trip to Costa Rica. I believe that was a GoPro Hero 4. Despite being ziplining down a straight line, it's really kind of shaky when you consider how little my head is actually moving as I'm whipping across this valley. However, with the GoPro Hero 7 Black, that anti-shake ability is nice. The image quality is significantly improved. Pro Tunes is very well done, and yeah, no, it's just simply a nicer system. Small, it's good, it's vlogging. It's not the most cinematic thing. Like, obviously everything here in the background is like in focus because of the tiny little lens. Plus also I'm vlogging now, so it made sense to have a little tiny camera. I cannot understand how I see people and their video vlogging and they're like, oh yeah, I got a Canon 1D something or other, and I'm looking going like, isn't that like a 5-pound camera and it's like $5,000 or $6,000? You toss the like with the lens on it and stuff, and I'm like, so you're holding at arm's length on the end of a stick like $7,000 that weighs like probably 7 or 8 pounds. Given that I blew up my arm a couple years ago playing dodgeball and had to do some physio on that, I'm like, I didn't really want a recap and be like, oh yeah, I blew up my arm vlogging. That's kind of a weird one, but that's fine for this. I'll interlude it with a cinematic camera and actually get some really nice stuff with a full frame camera. I'll post a picture somewhere here to show you what I have. This is version 1.0 of my vlogging camera setup. I already have a case that's going to take the audio adapter and put it snugly underneath the GoPro, and it'll move the mic on top. The triple cold shoe mount will be above the camera, and then the mic will sit on top of the camera. That gives the mic enough distance that it won't be in the shot. Not really 100% necessary, but it also allows me to put a light on that I'm getting and another accessory if I need it, so that it's all sort of one little compact bundle that can fit in my bag, and away we go. Another thing to realize also is in this mode, again, I'm just holding at the camera and moving it, so it's a bit of jumping barring that I'm doing. Like if I'm doing this right now, this is me actually doing it on the camera, so that's a consideration. When using the hyper time-lapse mode, the other consideration is that when you're doing like a slow pan like this, I can sort of do it relatively well, but if you really start slowing down without actually having like some type of mechanical feature or a tripod to do that, you'll notice that it wasn't exactly the smoothest motion ever, which isn't really a bad thing when you consider it, because honestly, I think if you're going to do that, putting a motion controller and just have it do this and rotate on a motion controller is better, especially if you want to be professional and you want high quality stuff. But then at that point, if you're going to do that, you might as well grab a larger camera. This is just more for something like if you're out and traveling and you need a fun camera and you want to be like, so this is good for like if you're doing a hike or a walk and you want to capture it so you can share it with friends, or if you're going cross-country skiing and you want to capture it, but you know that your friends are not going to sit there and watch a 40-minute video of you skiing for 40 minutes, but at 30x you can get that down to like a 2-minute video, and even then you maybe crunch it a little bit more in post or cut out like maybe the not so great parts, and you can be like, boom, here's what we just did, and it's in a 30-second bite. So that's useful. Okay, so let's talk GoPro audio for a second here. Now, the GoPro Hero Black 5 with the little external mic port thing basically allows you to connect up a microphone. Most vloggers I've seen who set up this system generally use the Rode Video Micro. I don't actually own that microphone. I do have a Rode Stereo Video Mic Pro, which is what I'm using right now. It doesn't have a dead cat on it. It has like a little fluffy thing, or like a Rode foam, and so that's what I'm using. It's set to 0, it's not plus 20 or negative 10, and it does have that little cutoff for the booming. So this is the audio from the Rode Stereo Mic Pro. This is the audio from the GoPro Hero 7 Black. So this is the audio from the GoPro Hero Black 7, and it's internal, and yeah, just compare it. And I'm talking in a relatively normal voice. I'm not trying to be overly too loud. If somebody was standing about as far away from the GoPro as I am, this is probably the loudest I would be talking to, so they could hear me well. So if you can hear me with this, that's great. Without any external mic, it's the internal one. And we're back hopefully to the microphone one, or it's probably going, oh my god, you're unplugging and plugging the microphone, what are you doing? Alright, so now I'm walking away from the sun, so my face is probably darker than it should be, but whatever. It's a vlog, it doesn't have to be absolutely cinematically perfect. So I got the GoPro instead of like an Osmo Pocket. Simply, I like the Osmo Pocket. It's got better stabilization than the GoPro, but it's not waterproof, it's a little bit bigger, and I do worry about smacking that gimbal up. I'm pretty careful with my gear, but there's always a sense of, yeah, it's gonna be tossed in your pocket, it'll be fine. Until one day it sort of maybe falls out of its container, it moves around or something like that, and you accidentally go crunch. Plus, there's no real easy way to put a microphone on that system. And at that point, you're like, what am I doing? Same thing with the Insta-1, or the Insta-360-1 or whatever. It's a nice 360 camera. It has some nice uses, but again, it's not really waterproof. It's not really got an easy way to put a microphone in. And while it's great if you're holding it out and stuff like that to give sort of a 3D effect, at the end of the day, there's extra steps to do that in post. And quite frankly, I don't think that footage is as nice. So for vlogging, it's great, but the GoPro can actually produce. You can sell it for stock or use it in other projects. So at the end of the day, the GoPro Hero won out. I'm always open to look at other technologies, but when it comes down to spending my own money, I'm going to spend it on something I know is going to be reliable, it's going to work, and I can understand it. Just simply, you know, use the camera for what it's good for. So yeah, GoPro Hero 7 Black. So far, it's got my vote.